The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
The Short Time Wrestling Podcast. Today we're talking wrestling with Danny Irwin, head wrestling coach at Wheeling Jesuit University Division II School in, as its name might suggest, Wheeling, West Virginia. Danny, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason. I'm really excited to get a chance to talk with you and share a little more news about Wheeling Jesuit University.
We've got a lot of news shaping up, but right now you are currently with two children in the car driving back from Florida. Let's just talk about the struggles of a wrestling coach trying to wrangle up dozens of wrestlers throughout the course of the year. It's nothing in comparison to trying to wrangle two kids in a car for like 12 hours at a time.
Definitely not, but one of the good things about going through all those practices and stuff, it gives you as much preparation as possible to get a 3-year-old little girl that wants to stay at the beach loaded up and off and running. Yeah,
I mean, how do you sell that to a kid? Like, oh, we're going to go to the beach. Now we're going to go back to West Virginia.
Well, she loves the hills, or to her they're mountains, but everybody there's hills. But when you come from Indiana, everything's flat and you can see for miles. But when you're in Wheeling, West Virginia, that's not the case. And so we love the beautiful scenery there, and then she's all about it.
So with the joke with it used to be with Iowa, but I guess you could say it with Indiana. It's so flat you can watch your dog run away for 3 days.
Yep, definitely for 3 days, from the central part to the northern part for sure. A little southern, it's not quite like that.
Flatlander, you actually wrestled in Indiana and coached there for quite a while before you ended up at Wheeling Jesuit. Just give us a little backstory on how you ended up wrestling for Coach Tom Jarman at Manchester in Division III.
Well, I knew I needed a smaller school where I would have professors and just people looking out for me, and where I felt like that was going to be my best situation to succeed. And with that, it led me to Tom Jarman and Coach Jarman, because I still call him Coach. And one of those things that they were an hour away from home. They had came off, I think, 4 or 5 straight top 10 finishes, and were one of the perennial teams in Division III, and I just felt like that was the best place for me. And and then on top of that, having somebody like Coach Anderson there, who was my assistant, my first 2 years prior to his departure to Wabash, something that I felt like it was the best fit.
When we look at the decision to coach, how soon did you know that you wanted to be a wrestling coach?
I knew right away. I have a younger brother that was 3 years younger than me, but he was I was a senior in high school. He was an 8th grader, and so I would always go back and help out with his youth practices, his middle school practices, and then when I was in college, anytime I could get back, I was looking to help him out and helping him get ready for Fargo and things of that nature. So I knew pretty much right away. And I remember when I arrived in Manchester, Coach Jarman was asking all the freshmen, like, what are you looking to major in, and what are you looking to do? And I distinctly remember, everybody was like, bio, this and that. And I was like, I want to be a wrestling coach. I knew right then. I thought I wanted to be a teacher coach, and I did that my first 2 years after I got done competing, being the head high school coach and head middle school coach and the head club coach at where I went to. And it was something that, led me to, 2 years of being there, and then, having the opportunity to get into, college coaching. And luckily at the time, Wabash College opened up, and spent an awesome 9 years there with Coach Anderson.
What's more impressive about Coach Brian Anderson? Is it his perfectly kept beard, or is it the fact he's the tallest wrestling coach in Division III?
I think the best thing about it is it's a duo. It makes him one of the most intimidating, people, in the corner. I remember when I was a freshman, I was like, I can't let this guy down. Coach Jarman was a little older at the time, but could still hurt you. But Coach Anderson, he's definitely, with that fire in the corner between him and Coach Jarman. It was something that I had just a lot of respect for, somebody that, you just wanted to really compete hard for. And then when the opportunity opened up to coach with him, I was like, he was getting things up and running at Wabash, and I knew he was somebody that, would help continue my path into coaching and help develop me.
During your time at Wabash, you obviously had the opportunity to coach a trio of brothers. The Lefevres, of course. Riley finished his career as a 4-time Division III national champion, just the second guy in Division III to do that. And with that, you were named the Division III Assistant Coach of the Year in 2017. I mean, what's it mean, and what was it like to build a program to go from SS Wabash to trophy winning team and three brothers wrestling in the Division III finals in the same year?
Yeah, it was a fight. I remember when I was getting ready to head there, I had buddies like, "You're really going to go coach there?" The program wasn't, obviously where it's at now. It's something probably a lot of people have no clue about. But our first year, we went to national duels, and I think in 3 duels that we wrestled, we won one of the 30 matches, and we didn't get anybody to nationals that year. To then just the belief and the work ethic, it's an everyday process to obviously get the program to where it's at, currently is just, it's truly amazing. But yeah, it's a lot of work behind the scenes, both, on the mats, but, really, in the office and out on the recruiting trail.
Now, being a Division III athlete, you understand the landscape of coaching and recruiting at the Division III, but Wabash brings a little bit of a different element to it, as it's an all-male school. How hard was that to recruit to an all-male college?
Well, I think it's like any school. There's things schools do well, and there's things that make schools unique. And obviously, that's a very unique thing about Wabash. But with the type of education students could get there, I think the type of coaching staff we assembled, and just different things of that nature, that we built the relationships that we needed. That why not Wabash? Why wouldn't you want to come compete for national championships and for NCAA team trophies? And at the same time, set yourself up for the rest of your life, that guys are going on to do some amazing things. They have job offers, in their senior year and, prior to graduation. And it was, soon, once, we kind of got those first couple guys in nationals and we started getting guys on the podium. It just, like anything, it starts to roll, and people want to be a part of success. And, and just the type of people and family that was developed there, and is still there to this day.
Sounds like the little one doesn't like all the Division III chatter. So we'll shift gears to Division II. The opportunity to coach at Wheeling Jesuit, a Division II school that's at this point 5 years old, moving into its 6th season. Sean Doyle now in administration there at the school, started the program. When this job opened up, what made this attractive for you?
Well, it's one of those things that I knew, with how special Wabash was to me, that I knew that I wanted to be, if I was ever going to leave, it was going to go to a place that had a lot of things in place already. And, I didn't want to go somewhere that it was going to be a rebuild process, or, something that, needed its culture fixed. And, with Cardinal culture and that culture that Coach Doyle developed, that, once I learned more and more about the program and, just where it was at and the direction it was going, that, it was kind of a discussion with my wife that, if we're not going to, look at taking this position and move our family here, then when would be the right time? And, and I was definitely one of those life-changing moments. My wife was halfway through pregnancy, so that not an easy decision there on the family front, but, something we felt was right with the support that we were going to get. And, it's lived up to all of that. And, I couldn't be excited, about, what we're doing there.
You having the unique challenges of recruiting at an all-male school. Now you come to a situation. The school's name is Wheeling Jesuit. You kind of know what you're getting. You're getting a faith-based institution in Wheeling, West Virginia. What challenges has that presented, and how have you kind of had to modify your recruiting style? Say, okay, we're looking for this type of kid into the program.
Well, I think it's just that you look to identify who's the right fit. And one of those things that with the culture of the program, that's been easy. We have people knocking on our door that want to join, our family, our program, our institution. And so it's, we're going to probably have, a handful of guys that aren't going to have that opportunity, just based on, we want to have a certain size of roster and things, and where that we can support and give everything we have to them. And so that's one of those things that I don't think it's been a hard transition at all. It's, this is the school. It's small. That's one of the things I liked about it. It's got a staff and professors and just, down to the security guard who's all about wrestling and all about what we're trying to do. And, so I think when people step on campus, they get a chance to start seeing those type of relationships and things of that nature, and they want to be a part of it.
When it comes to the location, and you're also dealing with scholarships in that location, and that's the Ohio, Pennsylvania right there. I mean, you basically, if you're driving east to west from Pennsylvania into Ohio, you're in West Virginia for like maybe 10 minutes on one of those drives off the interstate. So you're in a spot where you can pick. You've got the opportunity to see Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, even down into Virginia some if you want to make a little bit of a drive. But location wise, I mean, how much of that is that a kind of a positive for you in recruiting?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're in a hotbed. I mean, we got Cleveland a couple hours away, Columbus a couple hours away. We have Pittsburgh an hour away, but also too with the state of West Virginia that we got some really good guys currently on our roster. And we have some guys currently signed with us, out of this year's class that I think are going to do some really big things. So just you don't have to go far to get the talent that's needed. And I think with what Coach Doyle did and with the class that we're working on finishing up assembling right now, that you can ask for more. That you don't have to go far to get who you need as far as talent goes, but you got a very large population just to go out and find the right type of students, obviously athletes, but more importantly, the type of person that's going to fit into your program.
What's it like recruiting now, knowing that you've got some scholarship money to offer? In Division III, it's non-scholarship in terms of athletics, but how does that kind of changed your coaching or recruiting pitch, so to speak?
I don't think it has changed my recruiting pitch at all, and not even pitch. It's, hey, this is who we are. This is what we represent. This is what we're looking for. And with that, if we can identify that the message, that hey, this is what we're doing. That when they get here and they're on campus, that they're happy. They know the ins and outs of the school. That they're not surprised, by anything, and it leads to really good things. And then obviously when you have the scholarship dollars too, that you don't compared to Division III, you don't lose somebody that you really want to be a part of your program by chance, and not because of a financial reason. And so we can go out and get those guys, and we currently have them on our roster that they were the top of the top coming out of high school, and they're working to become the top of the top now at Wheeling Jesuit.
What was your understanding of the landscape of Division II wrestling prior to coming in? I mean, that's an area where, Pitt Johnstown is kind of one of the names that jumps out. You're talking about Division II wrestling in that part of the country. That's the first school that jumps into my mind. What did you know about Division II in the area, and I guess Division II as a whole before taking the gig?
Well, I had paid attention to Division II. My brother was a 3-time national qualifier. He was an All-American at the University of Indianapolis. So it's something that I was at a couple of his Division II national tournaments when they didn't fall on the same date as Division III, and so I got the chance to take those in firsthand. And at the same time, I think when you're recruiting, the premier student athlete, we ran into Division II, we ran into Division I all the time when we were recruiting student athletes to Wabash. So it's something I wasn't unfamiliar with, but there was definitely some things that as you start competition, you're competing against those perennial powerhouse Division II teams that you're like, you start to be able to understand them a little bit better, how they work. And, like any time, I think you're building a program that, you pay attention to those teams that are very consistent, that, they're from their coaching staff to their athletes, that's led to that success, and maybe try to pick up a thing or two that you might like, that you might bring back to your own program.
How much education have you had to do with the high school athletes? I mean, you're coming into really your first real full recruiting cycle as you were hired prior to last season, but the education be like, hey, yeah, we're Wheeling Jesuit, we're a Division II school. I mean, you're not very old, so there's probably kids that have never even heard of the school when you give them a call. So what's that conversation typically like?
Well, it's one of those situations when you make that call and you start identifying what's important to them and what's important to you, that some student athletes, because we're recruiting on the nationally. Obviously we can get it done regionally, but we have people nationally reaching out to us from California, from Florida, from different places that have never heard of it, but when they start hearing things like, hey, we were national duels runner ups 2 years ago when we finished 13th in the country this year, and we have our first national champ. That I think no matter how new or old you are, and then you have that kind of recent success, the ears of a 18-year-old who sees themselves at the highest level, their ears really perk up and understand that, hey, this is a place that I could get it done as a student and as a wrestler.
When you talk about that national duels, that was just one of those strange. You've had some strange situations there. I mean, that was the unseeded versus the juggernaut. What was that situation like coming into national duels?
Well, that was the year prior to me arriving, but one of those things I paid attention to it. That was one of the things that I liked when I was looking at the university. That, hey, what a young program, and they just made the finals of Division II duels, and that again, that we have that mentality here, that anything that can be done with the right work, with the right people, and the right mentality. And it showed me that, hey, this is a place that's on the brink, and something that Coach Doyle he told me, hey, we're on the brink. We've just missed some more big opportunities and situations, and I think this is a place that you come in and can get it done right away. And I felt we were right there again this year. We did some awesome things, but again, we're on the brink of some bigger moments and situations, for individuals and obviously the team.
Yeah, what's actually interesting is coming into this year, you talked about the year prior, and then this year, you guys are kind of in the same situation again, pulling the upset, against CSU Pueblo, and then Gannon does that same run this year, also out of the that particular super region. So when you look at the competitive nature of even the unseeded teams and the teams that go in, the rankings in Division II are done more or less by tournament points. So sometimes you never know what you're really going to get. So how are you looking to build your program? Are you looking at dual meet strength? Are you looking at tournament strength? I mean, where do you see Wheeling Jesuit fitting in the national landscape?
Well, that's one of the things with Division II wrestling, the parity from top to bottom, that any given year, any individual, I think, from any school to just obviously the teams that were in the team hunt this year can get it done. And you got to have at least 7, if not all 10 guys out at the national tournament. So you got to look at it from that aspect of things, that duels matter. And that was one of the things I liked about Wheeling Jesuit, that you're not walking into a duel with 100, 200 people. That out of our 3 home duels, 2 of them out of the 3, they were 500 plus. I think our duel with UIndy, I think we were right around 750 people in attendance that night. And so duels matter at Wheeling Jesuit. They matter to the administration. They matter to the community and to the region. But I think that excitement builds into having those team points scored at the regional, at the national tournament, that puts you in position to have that overall team success. And you got to have those individuals that can go out and score bonus points. And you saw that from St. Cloud. You saw that from Notre Dame this year, and a situation that we're really excited about.
Talk a little bit about your coaching staff. Sean Doyle, stepped away from the actual coaching part of it, but again, still involved with the program and in the school. So with what you had coming in staff wise, how has that kind of worked with synergy to bring, I guess, that continuity from one coaching staff to the next?
Well, I was fortunate to be able to retain a lot of the assistants that helped out, the years prior, and so that was one of the things I was really excited about. They each bring a very unique skill set, from strength training and nutrition to recruiting to just everyday management, and so being able to keep them was a really good thing. And then 2, I was able to bring in a guy that I coached the previous 4 years at Wabash, who understood me. I recruited him out of high school, and he understood how I work and the direction that we're going.
Yeah, and I mean, I get an email from Rick Welker that kind of prompted this interview, and I'm just like sitting there, I see an email from a guy named Welker from West Virginia. I mean, that's kind of like synonymous with West Virginia wrestling.
Yeah, Welker's a big name, and it's one of the things that you can't have a conversation with Coach Welker and not get excited about wrestling, let alone WJU. That He's somebody that we talk on, a regular basis. And I think my wife, just wants me to maybe get a special ringtone for him because, he's either calling me or I'm calling him and, hey, you think about this or you think about that. And, he's on the hunt, for more student athletes and just, different ways that we can improve our program and keep pushing us up the national ladder.
You talked about the first national champion, Terrence Fanning, winning it as a redshirt junior at heavyweight. West Virginia native, you also had All-American Tyler Warner at 141 pounds, first time in school history, 2 All-Americans in the same year, first time in school history, a national champion. It's kind of a good bar to set in your first year as a head coach.
Yeah, very exciting. And, one of those things that, I know our sports information director, we upset UIndy in my first ever debut as head coach and our first duel at home. And, I think they were ranked 10th at the time. And, he kind of joked around, is there bigger things to come? And I said, I sure hope so. We want to win big duels, but, we want to have these kind of moments out at the national tournament for Terrence Fanning to win the national title. And I think in the fashion that he did that, it wasn't, an easy road. He obviously knocked off the national runner-up and returning national runner-up in the finals, but he also beat the guys that finished 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and in the bracket, in his 4 matches that he competed in. And so, and you couldn't ask for a better person either. I think the person that interviewed him, Matt side afterwards, asked him what it meant to have his team up in the stands, cheering him on, and the exact phrase that he repeated was, that's not my team, that's my family. And that's, you couldn't ask for a better representative, to win our first national title. And I don't think a better sentence that really captures what it means to be a student athlete and, at Wheeling Jesuit in our program.
Yeah, you mentioned returning runner-up, of course, Cameron Teacher from Notre Dame College, but also, DJ Sims from Pitt Johnstown was in there as an All-American. And coming out of that region where, he wins the national championship, didn't even win the region, and opens up in his first match at the Division II Nationals with a guy who had beaten him at national duel. So as a coach, what are you looking at when you see the draws being, all right, well, we got this guy we've already lost to once this year in the first round?
Well, Cotter from Central Oklahoma, he actually pinned us at national duels, and there's some spots that he's just really good in. But one of those things that we talk with our team about, we're improving every day, that the person that steps out at the first duel to national duels to even the regionals isn't the person that's going to be wrestling us at the national tournament, and puts us, I think, in position where it's tough to prepare for us. That we're always looking to complement different techniques and positions with what we do best, and always improving. And so when we stepped out there, that we actually we were controlling the entire match, and Cotter spladled us. And Terrence looked lost in the position, I think, like most heavyweights would. And but luckily he came out of that position and finished that match off. And we knew that he was capable of winning it prior to going out there. And one of the refs after the regionals finished up that second day said, who the heck beat him? And but like you said, it was a heck of a tough regional, but a situation that by going through it, he knew he couldn't be more prepared heading into the national tournament based on just how tough that regional is year in and year out.
The adage is, as you wrestle who's in front of you, you can't control the way the bracket works. When brackets tend to fall apart, which they tend to do in Division II, because it is not a seeded tournament. It's regionally seeded. It's like, or placed rather. So you're going to have this region 2 versus this region 3, this region 1 versus this region 4. And it's an even 16-man bracket, which can sometimes create some great matches in the first round based on upsets at the previous regional. But then you get into the semifinals. You've got Cody Johnson from Pueblo in the semis, who you had beaten at national duel. So as a coach, you're looking at this going, well, we've beaten this guy before. I mean, how do you keep from looking ahead in a situation where you're like, we have one guy to beat to get to the national finals, and we've already beaten him this year?
Well, it was simple not to look ahead, and that's one of the great things about Terrence. He's been in some big moments. He won a couple state titles. He was an All-American a couple times at Virginia Beach, and he was at the national tournament, as a sophomore, and that was kind of our working with him. Each athlete has a different mentality, and I knew that was one of the things with Terrence that was key, was just keeping him very level-headed, keeping him excited just about the match that was in front of him. And when he's smiling and loose, he is a tough customer to take out.
when he comes back to campus and you come back with a national champion and 2 All-Americans and a top 15 finish at the Division II championships, what's the conversation like with your administration? We're 5 years into this program and you're already making waves in Division II and in your first year.
Well, it was awesome. That situation that when I walked in the door that morning after that long flight back and so forth, that our athletic director, who's a big guy himself, he gave me a big hug and embraced me and was so excited about what we're doing and just overall the performance of the program. And one of the cool things for us was with an administrative standpoint that the NCAA had sent a letter to our administration just about our coaching staff, our athletes, the way we represented ourselves out there. But what was a really cool thing for us was having almost our entire team out there. They made the trip out there. The school helped put that together, and so that was that gave, I think, Terrence and I think the rest, the other 4 guys competing there just a little extra bump, in their performance that they had about 30 of their team, and then I think about another 25 to 30 parents and family and fans of the program out there too, which gave us a pretty ruckus cheering section.
Now, moving forward with the program, there's some news that's shaken out of Wheeling Jesuit, and that is the foundation of the Ohio Valley Regional Training Center. And people will sit there and be like, "Wait, what? A regional training center at a Division II college?" Let's explain this situation a little bit.
Well, that's one of the things. Obviously, you had spoke with Coach Welker, and I think just the mentality I want with all our coaches on staff is that we're always looking to build our program and put it in a situation that it's not only going to impact our program, our university, but it's going to impact the community. It's going to impact the region, and we felt like having the Ohio Valley RTC was going to just again add one of the last, I think, few wrinkles that need to be added to the program. To it that is going to not only put our guys in good situations that want to continue their freestyle and Greco careers, but then also too really start developing the Ohio Valley, which is already really good, in developing that where they can continue to get better, and I think it puts more potential student athletes on campus and seeing the university and meeting people, which is just going to continue to strengthen the university as a whole and strengthen wrestling as a whole, which is one of the biggest things we want to accomplish.
So who else is going to benefit from this regional training center? We've obviously got the senior level athletes who may, or athletes from Wheeling Jesuit who may want to continue training at the senior level, but West Liberty's right up the road too. And I know that there's usually a geographical footprint with these RTCs that sometimes you're working together with your rivals.
Well, I haven't talked directly with Coach Smith about this yet, but a situation where we're open to everybody. We want to improve wrestling. We want to improve wrestling as a whole, not only for our program, but the region. And you think 250 miles from Wheeling, that that stretches all the way almost to Cincinnati. That covers almost every square mile of West Virginia and gets us into Maryland and Pennsylvania and different places like that. That there's not very many people that are going to not be able to have the option to come in for a practice as long as they meet those RTC requirements, with USA Wrestling. And I think with that, the sky's the limit. And, maybe a situation now that, we don't have a ton of individuals that are thinking, competing at the senior level. But obviously with any foundation, we want to start laying that foundation so that, say a Riley Lefevre, comes through our program or anybody else that, we have the foundation that, hey, they have the opportunity that if Wheeling Jesuit's the best place for them to stay, then they can stay and continue their aspirations to bigger moments.
There's also the tie-in with, again, USA Wrestling Regional Training Centers. In my home state of Virginia, you've got a couple schools with regional training centers, and then that's the USA Wrestling organizations in Virginia. It's VAWA, the Virginia Wrestling Association. They'll take their Fargo training camps to those spots because they have the facilities and the name to support USA Wrestling. How much of that is also a goal to help build West Virginia wrestling, not just at your program, but the high school level and even below that, the grassroots level, the cadet and schoolboy level?
Oh, exactly. It puts us right in position. It was soon after we announced that we were going to be firing this up that we've already been in contact with some of the leaders of West Virginia, freestyle and Greco program that, it looks like there's a good chance that the Fargo training camp will be coming to WJU this summer, which, we're really excited about, just to, again, impact those guys and get them ready for, the biggest summer tournament, of the year. And obviously one of the pivotal moments in a lot of student athletes' careers that they go out there and compete and know exactly where they're at. And they open the eyes up of a lot of college coaches, but we get that firsthand look at them, that we see how they're coming in and warming up and going about the drills and the technique and just type of a lifestyle that they want to live, that gives us a good sneak peek on, are they people that are going to fit into our system and to our family.
What's one thing that you learned about West Virginia as a whole that you didn't quite know coming in?
I think that, entirely as a state, that it's one of the most welcoming places that I've ever been to. That, they've really opened their arms up to myself, my wife, my two kids. That, obviously in wrestling takes you a lot of places, and you get a chance to meet a lot of new people. But that was the thing that I noticed right away, and it's just continually, impresses me that, each and every person I meet in West Virginia, that they have a very good, I think, foundation morally and just, what they want and the type of people they want to surround themselves with. And it gets me excited to raise my family out here.
You've also got the situation. Jared Haught at Virginia Tech, West Virginia native, was a Division I finalist, the first one from the state of West Virginia ever, the NCAA level. Then you got Terrence Fanning, a national champion at Division II. You've got programs that have popped up. Of course, Wheeling Jesuit's new, relatively new. Wheeling Ohio Valley's relatively new. Alderson Broadus is relatively new. We got some NAI schools popping up down in Bluefield, for example. So when you look at the landscape of college wrestling, all these new programs are creating, they're creating opportunities to wrestle in West Virginia. How much do you think that, even though with the WVU's got, they're the D1, they're the big dog, everybody, roots for the Mountaineers, but what does all this wrestling in West Virginia really mean for you as a coach?
Well, I think what it means for me as a coach is just watch out, with all these new programs popping out up in West Virginia, that, 10 years from now, that, we just had our first graduating class last year. We're graduating our second graduating class this year. That, we have a lot of teachers and coaches that are going out there that, are going to be improving, the skill set, of wrestling, and these guys, coming up through the ranks. And secondly, just help be a mentor for them, that, they care about their academics. They care about them as people that, West Virginia wrestling's already doing some really big things, but I'm really excited about, I would say 10 years from now that, watch out, because West Virginia, I think, is going to be one of the top states in the country.
When we look at, I've mentioned West Liberty there, which for years was kind of the anchor of Division II wrestling. Of course, it was for a while the only Division II wrestling program there. Mitch Smith being a West Virginia guy, how much have you guys looked at maybe developing that rivalry? And I'm not, for me, who doesn't understand the relationship between the two schools as they are in all sports. I mean, is there a school rivalry there in all sports, or how does that relationship work?
Yeah, it's something it's in all sports. From the basketball game to soccer games. Exciting thing. Football's getting ready to be started. At Wheeling Jesuit, so I assume that's going to be a big rivalry there too, and it's really big in wrestling. We were up there this year. There was good attendance. It was a very heated match. They had the lights off. It was just a cool environment for our guys to compete in. And we're excited about, them coming, that I think it's like 8 miles away, but it's a 25-minute trip up the hill to get there, or for them to come down to us. And, that rivalry is big, that, it's kind of a battle for Wheeling. And I think me and Coach Smith, we've already been in some talks about, having a trophy involved. And I think that's something that's going to just add to the value of the duel and just start, really creating that history that, between the two programs when it comes to wrestling, that is really going to, add another incentive or another value when, student athletes are potentially looking there, or they're looking at Wheeling Jesuit, that, hey, who wouldn't want to be a part of that rivalry, like you see a lot of other schools and programs.
Yeah, loser buys tickets to the Wheeling Nailers games.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to a Nailers game this year, but I did get to see Disney on Ice there, and it's a cool arena, and they host some pretty cool wrestling events. And I think potentially could add some big time NCAA wrestling events in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah, Disney on Ice and the East Coast Hockey League, or excuse me, now it's just the ECHL. I don't even think they consider East Coast in their name anymore. I know I used to work for a hockey team in the ECHL, and the coach, John Brophy, who recently passed away, finished his career coaching in Wheeling. So Wheeling Nailers, ECHL, yeah, it sounds tough, just like West Virginia wrestlers sound tough. So it seems like you just got to have a little chip on your shoulder to be wrestling in West Virginia. So I guess that probably lends itself to you've got a pretty tough team in terms of physically and mentality wise.
Yeah, they're a really tough team. One of the things I was excited about is very blue collar, hard nosed individuals that they give everything they have, and I think importantly they give everything to each other. One of the things in our mission statement is men for others, and that's seen day in and day out, and I think it's seen in the community. Our program, we just broke over 1,000 community service hours, for the year, and that number is going to continue to go up as we cut a couple more things that some of our student athletes are a part of coming up as the school year finishes out. But that was one of the other things that was really important to me, that we have a team that cares not only about each other, about the community, and I think that's reciprocated in the type of attendance that we have at our home dual meets, and I think that's going to be something that just continues to grow as our tradition continues to grow.
Wheeling Jesuit head wrestling coach Danny Irwin. You can follow them on Twitter at WJU Wrestling. Hashtag Cardinal Culture. And as we wrap up, just tell us as we close what Cardinal Culture is. You've touched on it a little bit, but if you were to define it, what is it?
Well, exactly what I had just mentioned, that being a man for others, that, being very unselfish, that you're looking to be a brother, you're looking to be a friend, that you're looking to be a mentor for people in need or for your teammates. And that, when we talk about Cardinal culture, it's just being about the right type of person that, your parents would be, excited about, that your grandparents would be excited about, that, if you met somebody for the first time, that, their impression would be, what a remarkable young man. I want to be able to come out and see him compete. I want to be able to come over to the university and see him and where he lives, and just things of that nature. That Cardinal culture represents everything that we do, from when we go out to buy groceries or pump gas, to going out and volunteering at the local nursing home, to being in class, and then obviously being out at the events like the NCAA championship, where the NCAA took notice and took the time to write our administration to let them know what they thought of how we represented ourselves as people and as student athletes.
Anything else you'd like to add as you complete your journey back from Florida with two kids? It sounds like you're taking a little break there, is to just decompress on that ride.
Well, one, I got an awesome wife who has supported me unconditionally, and for her to manage being pregnant, delivering our second child, and handling that transition, she's phenomenal. But then two, that I think Wheeling Jesuit, that we did some awesome things, having our first national champ, having 5 guys at the national tournament, but that we're on the brink of some big things, and we're working every single day, from the regional training center to our community service to our academics, that there's not a part of the program that we're not relentlessly working on every day, because we want to make Wheeling Jesuit the premier place to get an education and to compete.
Thanks to Danny Irwin for being patient on the release of this interview. We actually did it a couple weeks ago, but with all things coming with the camps from Bela Glazov, we had some interesting stuff with women's wrestling that we were talking about. All that timely, and Danny has been a real trooper about saying, hey, man, you're not bugging me about when it's going to come out, but we finally got it released here on the Short Time Wrestling Podcast, talking about all things related to wrestling, not just a small percentage of it, because, again, my basically mantra, it's not to say a mantra, but it's something I've always believed in, is that there's more to life than just Division I wrestling, and there's more to life than just the top level of high school wrestling. There's so many wrestling programs out there and so many people that have stories to tell. I want to thank Rick Welker for actually reaching out and asking that I get Danny on the show. And you know what? It actually turned out to be a really informative thing for those of you who do pay attention to all levels of wrestling, and those of you who don't, consider yourself educated. Yes, there is more to life than just the 78 Division I wrestling programs, and we got over 400 college teams to talk about. And slowly but surely, I'm not going to make any promises to try to get to every single one of them over the course of this program, because that's a lot. That's a lot of time. And we're actually like 437 episodes into this show. So if I had started like episode 1 trying to do that, I would probably still not be through it, because we've had some ads, we've had some drops, we've had some all sorts of fun stuff. Now, fun stuff, fishing this weekend up on the lake with my wife, my kids, my in-laws up in Aiken, Minnesota. Caught about 8 or 9 little ones, nothing big. Had more fun helping my daughter Lucy. She's 5. She's about to turn 6. Catching fish. And it was one thing that Facebook told us is that 3 years ago was when she hooked into her first fish. So it was pretty cool to see her, use her little Dora the Explorer pole. Which, trust me, as a 250-pound man trying to cast a 3.5-foot Dora pole and have it actually have any type of pop, whatever. Okay, the Power Ranger bobber was bad enough, but then to cast it with the Dora the Explorer pole, yeah, all dignity of being a man's gone. So a pink pole, but Lucy cranked in 4 fish. She had a huge sunny, and this is of course just like the fish stories. The one that got away. I told Lucy, I was like, that's the one that got away. You almost had 5, but you had 4. So she caught 4 fish out there up in Big Pine Lake. Had a good old time. Hot. I am sore. Memorial Day, built not necessarily a fence, but kind of a more or less a border fence type of thing. No, I'm not getting political. No, not that type of border fence, but an area out my walkout basement comes up. We had some cinder blocks that were there, kind of painted and decorative with some plants in the top. The kids just climbed all over them, neighborhood kids. So I built a wooden fence, basically, from scratch. With splitting them, measure them. I mean, it was 101 degrees yesterday, and that was probably not a good idea for me to be out there. Yesterday being Monday, but enough about my Bob the Builder type stuff at home, or my This Old House with JB. Sweat a lot. Yeah, I felt like I was in a sticky, wet sauna. It was humid. It was hot. And a month ago, we had snow on the ground. Hashtag Minnesota Living Rocks. That's all I got for you today. I just want to say, if you enjoy the program and you enjoy what we do here at the Matt Talk Podcast Network, drop us a little coin in the tip jar at matttalkonline.com/contribute. Want to thank Bill Holton for his contribution. He has been a team member for a couple of years now, but he also dropped a one-time donation there, matttalkonline.com/contribute, PayPal. Or if you want to go monthly and contribute a little bit each month to help me basically spend the time and travel. There's a lot of travel that's going to come up with these shows, too. I'm working on the Legends series. Hall of Fame weekend's coming up next weekend. We're going to have Cliff Fretwell and Mason Beckman talking wrestling on the next episode. Then 3 weekends of Final X. So I'm not really sure how much we'll get done during the weeks, because I'm traveling to all 3, announcing all 3. So having fun with that. But if you want to continue to hear the great content here on this network, it helps with the editing time. It helps with the production costs. It helps with the hosting fees. It helps with the, creation of content. I've got a couple series that I'm working on coming on show arcs, they call them. So it's like, there's going to be a women's wrestling arc where we talk about history of the women's wrestling programs and things of that nature. Very more produced type of stuff, more than just one interview. Also the history of wrestling in the media. And I'm specifically focusing in on starting around 1995, when Intermat and the Mat.com were in their infancy and not even owned by their current outlets. They were just founded by a couple guys. Also, the Wrestling Mall is going to be a part of that, and the foundations of wrestling on the internet. And that is a series I've been working on. Actually been kind of dragging my rear end on that a little bit, but that's another series that we're working on. And a professional wrestling angle. Kyle Klingman does a lot of this with the crossover between the Gable Museum, which has a professional wrestling wing, but I am going through a professional wrestling arc of various interviews to collect with actual people who spent time in our side of the sport of wrestling, or the sport of amateur wrestling. I don't like typically using the term amateur, because guys like Jordan Burroughs are professional athletes, but the world of college and Olympic level, senior level wrestling that have gone into the world of sports entertainment and still hold a high regard for it. Jerry Briscoe, for example, is one. He's actually being inducted into the Florida chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame this August. So Jerry Briscoe will be a guest, and among others in the world of professional wrestling. So those of you that know, it may not be your thing, hey, that's not a problem, but there's some pretty cool stories to get out of the professional wrestling world. That's all I've got for you today. I'd like to thank all 985 of you who listen, or actually each day open up your email and get the best wrestling news curated by yours truly, dropped in your email. You are educated first thing in the morning about what's going on in wrestling. Just because the college season is over does not mean wrestling news stops. All sorts of stuff there. Sign up for free. Global Data, GDPR. Yeah, GDPR compliant. Yeah, I had to send one of those stupid emails out too. I have like the worst privacy policy on the internet. But anyway, I'm not going to sell your data is basically what it says. So, MadTalkOnline.com/news. Sign up for free. Get it each and every morning. And again, MadTalkOnline.com/contribute if you want to continue to let this network keep on a-rolling. That's all I got for you today. I'd like to thank you for spending your time with me because you've always got time for a short time. Even if you're sweating like crazy at 101 degrees. I'm sore today. The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is proudly outfitted by Compound Clothing. Shirts, singlets, custom gear orders, everything you need. Call up Cliff and the crew at cmpteamwear.com. First time listening? Well, you can change that by going to MadTalkOnline.com/GetShortTime to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or listen on your favorite podcatcher at MadTalkOnline.com/listen.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MadTalkOnline.com.